I'm realizing now how intense that track is.
In what way?
Sonically. And I'm wondering if like that's one of our more intense, like propulsive, driving, and fraught tracks.
Yeah, I really love the percussion on that track and that groove. And I think it's one of the first few like tracks we made after like making the song for like later. And then I think I laid down a beat, or you were the one who said like, oh, give me a beat, and then I will like, because we're figuring out how to write a song for something that we were doing. And then I remember very clearly that I was asking you like, okay, how should we go about it? Like, do you want me to write the music first, or do you want to write the lyrics first? And then like, I remember you telling me like, because I was suggesting why not let's just jam it, and then you were saying like, give me a beat, and then I kind of like just on the spot like we made this beat, and then kind of like, okay, go for it, and then we kind of got a demo down, and then you worked on the lyrics after that, and then we retweaked it, and this was like for version 1 of like Gap.
That's fascinating to me. I feel like I'm unearthing buried information. What I remember of the instrumentals of this track was that one night you turned off your phone and you got to work, and then you resurfaced at 5 a.m. with this track.
That's very on brand also. Yeah.
And I was blown away.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess what happened after that first stab was that I guess I probably took a pass at it and wrote my original lyrics. But then the second time around, what I had to do was, because now all the instrumentals were formed, so I had to then write with an existing beat. And what I recall is that actually, if you strip away strip away the framework, if you strip away the vocals, it's pretty bare.
Yes.
It's astonishingly bare.
Yes, you're right. It's honestly, it's a simple like loop that I've made, and it's a very simple percussive loop that I've made. And it just loops throughout actually. And then sometimes the sort of like the pad synth line comes in on like a B section, like a A B thing. So, and then the pad synth line like sort of like comes out, and then the loop continues, and it's just like affected a little bit, like with a bit of delays, reverbs that are modulating with sort of like the story that you're telling with the lyrics, and that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah, I will have to admit that a lot of that went over my head. But yeah, I mean, I'm only piecing this together now, and it's very corny, but there are huge gaps in the instrumental. So actually, in hindsight, I'm pretty proud of myself for being able to supply that rhythm purely with my voice and with the words.
Yeah. I think this is one of those clear ideas of within Late Bloomer of like the synergy, and for me it was a surprise as well, because I think I remember at that point of time, like I sort of like composed the beat just literally as a beat so that you had a metronome to sort of like jam over, and then but it kind of like left it in this like bare state until now, and then it's just like it's gone through mixing and mastering and a little bit of like tweaking, but in general, like it just still stands as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I remember is being very conscious about trying to vary the 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 structure of the lyrics, the structure of the verses, like with like the syllables.
I think that like really shines through, especially when you can hear like the comparison from the earlier version, like Penelope, to Gap. It shows your growth very clearly.
The only verse to survive the cutting block lies in Gap. The only verse in the entire album.
Come to think of it, I'm out of space, got no weight, and I'm gravity. I am not myself, someone tell me what that is. Got no shape, look at my dissolving hands.
This is another clear example of like how your lyrics like form or merge with the percussive like motives in the song. So it becomes a sound. It's no longer lyrics. It is lyrics, and it's more than that, and it becomes part of the motif. And for me, that sits as this part clearly represents Gap.
Yeah, we've never articulated this before. I'm sure it was very, very submerged during the process.
Exactly.
I mean, I mean, only now because you're saying that I'm making that connection of just this like dissolution, this breaking apart, this formlessness that the protagonist or the narrator is undergoing.
I think this is the key, the essence of Gap. It's just in this verse.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there was a reason why I held on to it, right? I think this was probably one of the first few lines that I even wrote, even before we started, even before working on a track together was an idea. I knew at the start of, I guess, what was it, 2019, I actually made a note to myself saying that if you don't work on your music project, whatever it is, your life will not change.
Wow.
Yeah. I still hold on to that piece of paper.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. It was before. It's not that it was before you and I had already met, and you and I were already working on later, I believe.
Yeah.
But it might have been before there was ever any
intention.
Intention to work on music together. I think I just wanted to. I mean, because I dabble in production stuff, and
was it before I asked you to like write more stuff?
I would like to think so. Okay. I can't be sure, but I would like. I know it was like at the hit start of that year.
Wow. So many things happen.
Yeah. It's
later.
Yeah. But if that isn't like a testament to intention setting and manifesting,
commitment.
Yeah. I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, I can't speak for you, but sometimes one of the hardest parts can be actually sitting your butt down and getting to work. You don't relate, clearly.
I didn't say anything.
You do not relate.
I think, no, I understand what you're saying when you say like the hardest thing is to sit your butt down and get to work. At the same time, I don't relate because I feel like I'm doing that 24/7. But I feel like I'm in the sense that I feel like I'm also finding it difficult, but I'm sitting down all the time and like, okay, I need to get to work now. I need to do this. Yeah.
Tell me, when we say work, right? We might be referring to our boundaries of that might be
Yeah.
different.
Of course. Yeah.
Because I have a feeling that maybe you're, I mean, for the record, I agree. I think you're constantly working. However, I think when I speak about work, I mean purely the the writing.
Yeah.
Whereas, do you include all the ancillary you know responsibilities around that, the business development, the social media promotion?
Oh yeah, that is definitely a whole rabbit hole, but I've always attributed it back to like that is still the work. But no, like just the content itself, the creation itself. It is hard. It is difficult. It's not that it's easy, but for me, I feel like sometimes when I sit my butt down to get to work, it comes easily, but also because I've been mulling over it throughout the day when I go for lunch, when I'm at another job, when I'm doing something else, when I'm with my friends, or when I'm reading something, watching something on YouTube. Like it's going, the wheels are turning, and then when I sit my butt down, like I have like what it takes to execute because it all starts to make sense, and that's the like part of the mini breakthrough when you do the work, I guess, or when you flush it out of your system. And then it sort of is a feedback loop when I'm working on the other things for the work, like the emails, the social media, and all that, the podcast. It kind of like is still the work. Like I'm still thinking about the work. And yeah, so I'm trying to create a system where it constantly like feeds me energy back. And it's it's kind of like an investment strategy where like I need to put out energy to do these things, and these things take energy to do, but then they also feed back into the inspiration like pool that I'm saving, and it kind of builds in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that's what happens during those like 6 hours that you shut down you went offline.
Yeah,
And
it's difficult. I think in today's world, like I just get so much anxiety from just like looking at notifications. And I think I've been telling you before, like, I've this phase where I turn off notifications completely, and like WhatsApp and Telegram or whatever like becomes email because I only open it when I open it and things like that. Like it's so difficult, and I would argue like you definitely need to shut off all this completely in order to be able to focus.
actually, that brings me to something I was wrestling with when I was writing Gap. What's that line? What's the landscape? What is me? How can I be certain that I don't want what I don't want? And so I felt like everything was so entangled. And I think that was a period of my life when I was trying to identify what the influences that came from without and what was within.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the world was changing, my circumstances were changing, I was changing as a person, and I believe that I was really reckoning with all of that throughout this album.
Yeah, I definitely see that change, that growth, that transition for you, and that's sort of your brick wall also that you had to work through, I think. And it's Would you say that's part of the process as well, and intertwined with the album, with the songs, with
what is part of the process?
working through yourself, your circumstance, the world changing?
Oh yeah, I think art making for me has always been part of that process of kind of like you seeing what comes up and seeing what comes out, but also working through these questions that you've been playing and replaying.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a way for me to tackle questions
yeah.
and preoccupations, and some artists have used the word obsessions.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring this up, because I think that for myself, like certainly like creating work, I think is my therapy. Yeah. In a sense that like I feel a sense of gratitude after I've finished something, working on something, or after I've like birthed it, or like managed to express it, or write its intention down. I feel like a sense of gratitude from it, and it's part of me figuring out how to go through life, and my work that plays a part.
Yeah, it's so interesting because music, in its inherent nature, is abstract and non-narrative. I don't know if that's reductive, but it is, right? It's abstract, of course, but of course it can. Of course, when it's made, it can be made with the musician steeped in certain emotions and a certain frame of mind, and of course it can elicit the best music will elicit emotions. And talking purely like, I guess, like instrumental stuff, not stuff with lyrics.
I mean, music is one of those art forms, or one of those mediums that just has the power to like affect you directly in a way that writing or like visual art, or even like other performance mediums like don't have.
Yeah, that's why I'm so jealous. and that's why film to me is so powerful, because it marries and without the score, sometimes it's a shell of itself, right? Sometimes the score is what makes it. There's something very sublime about music, which makes me very jealous of.
Or is that why you wanted to, like, you had the intention of like going into music?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bridging that gap for yourself.
Yeah. I guess I can't explain why I love music in that sense, but yeah, that's quite an astute observation.
So actually, like it's a thing that we always ask each other throughout the years, and I will ask you this again, like, how would you say like what you are now?
What am I?
Yeah.
Homo sapien. What am I? Well, again, I'll ask in what context?
Like, okay, so how would you describe yourself to someone that you've never met? Again, same thing that we always that you have asked me before.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because sometimes it really depends on the situation. Because I mean, sometimes when you go to like the hairdressers, or you're in a Grab, people will ask.
Okay, not to anyone, but to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think honestly, right, there was a time when artists would have been right there at the top. But these days, not so much, and I can't explain it. Yeah. And I wonder if it's just, not trying to be evasive or anything, but I wonder if it's just, honestly, I do struggle with these questions because I feel like, yeah, man, I'm just me. Maybe some people might think that's a cop out or lame.
No, I think that that's very Sal. I'm just me.
Yeah. But what about if I could turn the tables?
For the better lack of inspiration, I'm just me also. Yeah, no, in a sense that I feel like I have to grapple with like, I have to call myself a musician, I have to call myself like a producer, an electronic musician, electronic producer, composer, and all these like terms and like multi-hyphenate like bio lines and all that. Like for me, music is just music, and that's just the medium through which I'm most familiar and most affected by personally. So it isn't like, I want to do music for the world or for people. It's more like I want to do music for myself. Yeah, and I want to make the music that I want to listen to, not really for anyone else. Yeah.
I think that's been the shift, right? I think for both of us. I know for certain for myself over the last few years, we were asking ourselves what it would take for us to be satisfied with the release, and the answer is the release.
Yeah. I think that's the only expectation, is just to finish it, to get to the end, to feel gratitude about the release, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not people listen to it, whether or not people appreciate it, the fact is we made an album.
Yeah. I never realized how much effort it takes to make an album. Even today. Yeah. Because I'm always like, let's just make it.
Do you feel like you underestimate the amount of work that goes into whatever endeavor it is before you take it on?
All the time. I think every time, and I think that's a prerequisite for everything that I do. Like, it's just to do it, for the lack of better like phrasing, without thinking, and just get into it. Because I think if you don't, you lose that touch, you lose that like magic in the moment, and by thinking, it already slows you down, and like you just gotta go into it and figure it out. And the whole idea is that it leads you to places that you don't expect to be going, and brings you to new people, new experiences, and unexpected surprises.
Off to the next set, 4, 3, 2